Okay, folks, so I'm back here outside for the David trial. I'm here outside the courthouse with all the media here, and it was a very, very interesting day today. Now, I feel like there was a lot of crazy stuff that actually went over people's heads, and I'm very, very surprised about what I heard. I've got all of my notes here, got everything written down, all right? We're writing with pen and paper here, and I'm telling you, this is some really interesting stuff. So it started off very, very interestingly, okay? So the DA, Beth Silverman, was like 1 minute late. I swear, damn near no more than 60 seconds late. Okay, and the judge was on her straight away. The judge wasn't having it. She running a tight ship, Judge Olmedo. She basically is not having it. You ain't trying to even be 30 seconds late with her. Now, it turned out, okay, I think Beth had been locked out by one of the bailiffs or the people working in the court. They'd locked the room, I don't know, they must have locked the doors like 45 seconds prematurely. So Beth was late by like 1 second and the judge was on it. She kind of forgave her after that, but it really showed you exactly how tight the whole courtroom is going to be run in this situation. The judge is not playing around. So David came in. He came in pretty decent spirits. Now, this is a very important detail, okay? In this instance, he came in his shackles, okay? He was shackled. He had all these chains on, you know what I'm saying? Hands and feet straight shackled. I said before, he came in the courtroom last time, you know, jangling with all the shackles on. Now, he was in pretty good spirits, okay? It was weird because the judge, she seems like the judge is on absolute timing. Like, she really quickly, even while David was in the room, like quickly dealt with like a little update to do with another case. Someone called Mr. Valdez, I don't know what that was about, had nothing to do with David. She was like, let me quickly get this matter out of the way, boom, boom, boom. All right, now I'm ready for David. He was already there watching that. So that judge is so on point with the scheduling, with the timing, with everything that she's doing. You got to respect it. But after that, okay, when she moved on to David, he sounded pretty confident again, okay? He said, morning, Your Honor, unprompted. He spoke up in the whole courtroom in front of everybody, just like, morning, Your Honor, just straight up. Like, he greeted her. She didn't greet him. He greeted her. He's kind of trying to make that little social connection in the courtroom, and I thought that was just an interesting dynamic. But what was very, very interesting, this is the most interesting thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went over everybody else's head. David's lawyer, Blair Burke, said, okay, they put in a request for bail. I've seen it going around Reddit. I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, David put in a request for bail. I saw the post on Reddit a few days ago, and I saw everybody getting absolutely obliterated in the comments on that Reddit post when they were talking about, there's no proof of this. Who has proof of this? You guys are just saying anything. Well, everybody that was in that Reddit thread, you were wrong, okay? The poster was right. He has been trying to get bail. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. They didn't even deal with it in this hearing, but it seemed to be the case that Blair Burke brought up the issue of getting a bail and basically said, we've put in that request for bail. The judge acknowledged it. She didn't deny it. She didn't approve it. She didn't comment on it. Basically, it wasn't time for that, but it confirmed it in the courtroom. It went by like a flash, like it just went straight by. I don't even know if people even noticed it because it was so right at the start. It was almost like they slipped that one in there, and it was actually crazy. So that's true. He's trying to get bail. Fat chance he's not going to get it. This is the most heinous crime ever committed by a celebrity in Hollywood history. He ain't getting bail, but he's trying to get bail. But not just that, and I'm going to tell you something right at the end of this video, which is one of the last things that was brought up, which is not bail, but it's like the closest thing that he's going to get to bail in the situation that he's in. But that didn't come up to the end. So they basically said that the next date for the full preliminary hearing was going to be July 21st. Nobody contested that date. They're quite happy to go forward with that date. Everybody was happy. That's apparently locked in. But here's the thing, okay? They basically said they were trying to book in like a whole bunch of days. They said that they wanted to have a date in the next 5 days, but the judge was busy. And they basically said that they need to speak to the witnesses about scheduling. And then the judge brought up a whole bunch of dates for the preliminary hearing. So basically it's going to be a multi-day hearing. There's going to be loads of evidence. There's also going to be witnesses that are going to be brought in there. So she basically put forward a bunch of dates. 21st, 22nd. She said she was busy on the 23rd. She wasn't sure, maybe the 23rd. 24th locked in, 27th, and then the judge said she can't do the 29th, but she's not sure, and she said the 31st of July, but then Beth Silverman said she could not do the 31st of July, she was out of town, but all the other ones, she basically said, yeah, I'm down, like those can run if need be, okay? So there's going to be a whole lot of dates, there's going to be a whole lot of evidence. That's the thing, is there's going to be like a lot to be presented. They're saying there's going to be multiple witnesses. They're basically saying you got to get the witnesses prepared, all of that kind of thing. So the preliminary hearing is going to take several days. There's going to be so much brought forward. Apparently all of those days are going to be chock-a-block with evidence, and it's not just going to be these quick little, okay, let's get in and decide what's going on today and move on. It's going to be like full sit down with witnesses, with, you know, experts, all that kind of thing, and they're basically going to explain, you know, all different types of evidence that's going to be brought forward at the trial. But that's at the preliminary hearing. Now, what's really interesting, okay, is the next things that happened in the courtroom. So after that, what ended up happening is David's team basically said, obviously been waiting about all of this data, you know, 20 terabytes, all these terabytes on terabytes of info that they're supposed to get. So they basically said that they've received all of the written reports. They're waiting for some investigative reports that are still being gathered, but they're saying they've got a lot of the information, but they haven't still quite got all of it. They're still waiting for certain things. But one of the major things was they said there was a protective order at issue. And what that was all about, seemingly, was that they basically said that they're trying to get the transcripts from the grand jury. Obviously, we heard there was a big, long grand jury that had been going on before any of these hearings actually started, before David was actually arrested. I got a bee trying to jump onto my camera right now. I'm getting attacked by a bee as I'm recording. That's crazy. Okay, so Jesus Christ, I was getting attacked by a bee. It's crazy. The police are right here. They do nothing about the bees. Anyway, okay, so they basically said that, you know, they're going to be having these witnesses come in. They need to get all of this evidence, but they still haven't been able to get hold of the grand jury transcripts. Now, interestingly, Beth Silverman basically said that she wasn't allowed to deal with the grand jury transcripts. I don't know if that means that she's not allowed to have them at all, or that she's not allowed to hand them over and pass them on. They basically said that they have to go through a bunch of protective orders to actually get hold of those, and the defense is still trying to get them, or at least they haven't got all of them that they wanted. Now, I thought that was interesting. There was also another very interesting point that came up where David's defense were basically saying, they actually asked the judge, they said, we've been limited to only having 2 attorneys at the table during this trial. And I swear I'd seen instances where they've maybe had more than 2 people. Maybe I'm misremembering it. But they basically said, we want to request for certain times us to have actually a 3rd attorney at the table whilst this is going on, especially for a certain witness. So I don't know who this witness is going to be. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know if there's multiple witnesses or in general they want this, but it seems to be that David's defense are basically saying, look, for a certain witness, certain people, certain situations, we want a third lawyer to be able to actually be at the desk on the panel, to be able to ask questions, cross-examination, all that kind of stuff. And the judge basically said that that is allowed. And she said that it's allowed for both sides. The prosecution can have a 3rd attorney. They said specifically a defense investigator, an investigating officer. So I don't know whether that's actually, they're going to allow like an investigating officer that was on the case of investigating the situation before it actually got to the trial stage to be part of the examination, or if they're just going to allow, you know, an additional lawyer with kind of expert analysis on certain issues related to certain witnesses. But the judge granted that, so we're going to be seeing people getting fried on that stand, okay? We're going to be seeing witnesses going up against multiple lawyers. There are going to be faces that you ain't seen before that are going to be jumping in, asking the really hard questions. Now, Beth basically had, you know, nothing new regarding discovery. So Beth Silverman, the district attorney prosecuting this, she was like, discovery, I ain't got nothing else to say. Don't worry about those terabytes, don't worry about hard drives. We've sorted it out, basically. They said, hey, that's governed, that's taken care of. The information's getting handed over. I guess they got some or most of what they need. It's going to plan. Both sides were cool with that. Now, interestingly enough, okay, Blair Burke basically said that her and Beth Silverman, so the prosecution and the defense, basically said, look, we've already come to an agreement on a protective order. It seemed, obviously it's a protective order, so I don't know exactly what it was about, but from the language that was being used, it seemed to me that it was either in reference to some information in that, you know, grand jury that was summoned. I mean, they said there were several grand juries that were actually summoned before this actually got to the stage where we're having hearings and David was arrested, but basically said that, like, they went back and forth about this protective order. They don't want any of that grand jury information getting out, basically. And to be honest, I kind of don't blame them, or I kind of understand, because at the end of the day, what we're dealing with is, like, that grand jury interviewed a bunch of people. Some of them might not be coming to trial. I would imagine a lot of that stuff is damning to David. That's just what I would imagine based on, you know, things that I've heard. Rumors that have been going around. They've been saying, you know, David's management team and stuff were in there getting grilled. They're saying, why didn't you do anything for this young girl? You know, David's management, well, I think it was Robert, who was it? There was Robert and Josh that were on his management team that were hauled in there. But, you know, there were rumors that people said, oh, I just wanted to continue the tour. I didn't think it was my place to say anything about the girl. So I think they're going to be doing their best to kind of keep that under a protective order and not have that information circulate around. Probably because it's really damning. And apparently the DA's not even too bothered about that, because I feel like they're going to have reams of evidence. It's kind of like, and that stuff's probably still going to be included, but I don't think they want the public knowing about it. I don't think they want that being reported on or being let out publicly. Now, what was interesting was it seemed to be the case that basically David's defense was struggling to get their hands on the grand jury transcripts. These are so well guarded and so well protected. it sounds like they're really having a hard time to have them handed over. Beth Silverman, the DA, said it's not her place. She can't hand those over. She's not allowed to. Apparently, a supervising judge needs to review those grand jury transcripts, I guess, to approve them, or I don't know if there's redactions. I don't know exactly how that works, but basically they need to be approved by a judge. They said they need a protective order with Department 100 to basically get hold of those grand jury transcripts. They still haven't got them. They're still trying to get them, and that's a massive part of this case. So it basically said they're going to be sorting out the witnesses. They're going to be checking any issues with the witnesses that are going to be coming to those next hearings. That are obviously going to be very lengthy, multi-day hearings for the actual preliminary hearing for the real-life trial. But this is crazy. So obviously I've mentioned that they're trying to get a bail. That was true. That was brought up. It wasn't dealt with, but it was brought up because that really is happening. That's something that's being put forward. But what was very interesting, they also said, okay, the judge basically said that we're anticipating a notice about the shackles. It sounds like David's defense are tired of him walking in the courtroom, jingling, jangling, shackled at his hands and feet. I'm not going to lie. When they bring him in with the shackles and the orange jumpsuit, it looks like something out of a movie. I know this is this is the real life of what these types of movies are based on, but it's like, it's very performative. I'm not going to lie. I'll keep it real with you. It does make you look guilty when you come into that courtroom. And look, whatever you believe about the case, I'm going to be impartial in this video, okay? But like, if you really done them sort of crimes, I'm not going to lie, you probably should be shackled, okay? But right now it's the trial stage. I don't know if he's going to be able to wear a suit for his actual trial. I don't know if at this stage, he has to be shackled and in his orange jumpsuit. But it does look crazy. Every time he walks in, straight shackled, big, big, thick links, big chains, like shackled at his hands and feet. So you can hear it. It's a very like, those kind of noises that really get in your head, like nails on a chalkboard. It's real chain, like thick, heavy chains when he walks into that courtroom, the bright orange jumpsuit. It's very theatrical. So the defense, they're trying to get that, they're trying to say, look, we need to do something about these shackles. This is no good. This isn't any way for our client to be coming into court. But they basically said they're going to be writing a written notice, or the judge basically said, I'm knowing that you're planning to write a notice. If you want something to be done about the shackles, that needs to be put in officially. So the judge signed more protective orders. Apparently there's more information that's going to be kept under protective order, more information that isn't for the public, evidence, witness testimony, all those kind of things. So the judge is basically kind of agreeing and saying that, we're going to keep some of this stuff under a protective order. We're not going to have this out there. Now, the last thing, after the shackles, David was basically being removed from the courtroom. Very, very interestingly, right at the end, he was still trying to talk to his lawyer, Blair Burke. He was still trying to talk, and it's like the guards, they're ushering him away, they're pulling him out, and it's like he's kind of like I might have to just like interact it with you. It's like his lawyer Blair is kind of sat down looking up at him. They're leading him away by his shackles, and he's kind of like, he's like trying to say stuff to his lawyer, like he's trying to look back and still talk to her. So it's like he still had a lot on his mind, and I've never seen him go out like that before. Last time we saw him very, very relaxed. He was kicking his feet around. He was doing weird shit with his mouth. In this one, he was in good spirits, but it's like at the end there was a little bit of desperation. It was like he was trying to get a few more words in. The bailiffs, the guards weren't having it. He was really trying to get a little extra. He looked a little bit panicked at the end, I would say, trying to get a little extra word into his lawyer. Don't know what it was about, couldn't hear it, but it was like, time's up, like you're gone. He's like trying to like get a little extra word in over the guard's shoulder. So that was pretty crazy. But to me, the big standout in this is the fact that bail was brought up. I was shocked that bail was brought up. I assume that will be dealt with later on down the line, perhaps preliminary hearing, perhaps when the trial. He ain't getting no bail. It's not happening. Ain't no way that's happening. It's the most heinous, grisly, gruesome crime that a celebrity's ever committed in Hollywood, LA history. I can't think of anything worse than this. It's the crime against a child, dismemberment, murder, the R word, grooming. Like, you're a danger to the community, brother. Like, until we find out what's going on, you ain't getting no bail. And to be honest, I wonder whether they'll let him get out of them shackles. I think maybe they might take a little bit of sympathy on him, because realistically, he ain't hurting nobody. Like, he ain't hurting no kids in that courtroom. He ain't hurting nobody. Like, there's enough people in there that would be ready to simmer the situation down if it came to it. But like, so I wonder if they'll let him out of them shackles. But no, I think bail would just be ridiculous in this situation at this point. I think it would just be absolutely wild. So that's kind of the latest update. I'm out here solo today. I haven't heard from any of the other reporters on the case. I didn't see Mark the Shark in the court today. He's been here quite a lot, but I didn't see him this time. Didn't see SF Investigates. It's been interesting. People have been saying SF has been missing, man. I've been wondering where SF is. He never replied to my DM. I was hoping to see him in the courtroom. The one time I see him there, you know, I didn't get to have a conversation with him. People saying he gone missing on this case. I'd like to know, man. No disrespect to SF. I think he's done great work on this case, but why is he suddenly not talking? Why is he suddenly not involved? Why ain't he at the courthouse? This is a big date. But we might see him at one of the real dates. Maybe people, you know, they're too busy. They got bigger stuff going on than these status updates, these status hearings and such. But, you know, I'm here. I got nothing better to do. So that's all the information I got. I haven't got any interviews today because I'm just here solo. I'm not going to lie. Got up a bit late today. I nearly missed it. So appreciate everybody that's been watching, has been supporting the coverage of the case. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to try and attend as many dates as possible. I do have a little bit of, I need to get out of town for some stuff that I'll tell you about a little bit later on. So I might miss some of the dates, but I'm going to try and make it to all of the dates I possibly can and keep you guys abreast of what's going on. So I really appreciate you tapping in. Shout out to all the media that's behind me. Did meet some interesting people at the courthouse today. Some interesting new people that I haven't spoken to before. So shout out to those people I met today. Could be some interesting stuff coming. Definitely a lot going on down here. But thank you so much for watching this update. I will keep you guys updated on everything else that is going on with this case. I might even do another desktop video about this and actually update you guys on all the rumors about the whole bail thing, because now that we know that that's actually happening, I want to revisit that Reddit post. So don't delete that post. Don't go deleting that post about David asking for a bail when all the comments were trashing the post and saying, how do you know this? I want to know who posted. I want to know how they knew. How did they know before court? Because I just went to the courthouse and that shit true. So anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this update and thank you for supporting my coverage of this case. We're outside for the David hearings, trial coming soon, preliminaries coming soon. We're going to be covering absolutely everything. Thank you so much for your support and I am out of here. Peace.